Hi, and welcome. Today, Michael Elliott and Charles Gerhold will be discussing why our predictive engagement assessment can benefit your organization as you are looking for the right talent. This assessment allows you to predict an employee's propensity to engage before you hire them.
Hi, everyone. You've got Michael Elliott here. I'm the Director of Sales at Chally.
Hi, I'm Charles Gerhold. I'm a strategic advisor with Chally. If you've ever been in a company that's been acquired, there can be a lot of uncertainty. Is there going to be a riff? Am I going to lose my job? Is the boss that I have that I really like, is she going to get fired and replaced by, somebody in this big company that just bought us that I don't know? And it can really impact engagement. And so paying attention to engagement levels of folks in the transition, not just understanding it as part of due diligence when you're acquiring a company, but understanding and tracking it and how understanding the workforce and how likely they are to positively react to engagement efforts is really valuable as well.
Right. And what percentage of an individual's capacity for engagement do you think contributes to overall culture?
That's a great question. So thinking about what is engagement, right? So employee engagement, we typically think of those things that an organization does from a culture and leadership development standpoint to make it a good place to work. And that's important. But a large part of how engaged an individual will be comes from their own makeup, their own personality characteristics and traits and motivations. Looking at different research, it's somewhere between 30 and 50% of an individual employee's actual engagement behavior comes from their individual difference, comes from the stuff that you can assess when you're hiring somebody to, are they going to respond positively to efforts that organizations make, those investments that organizations make in employee engagement. There's other things you have to consider, obviously, when you're hiring somebody. Do they have the technical skills? Do they have the knowledge and the skill and the ability to do the job? Those are table stakes. You have to have that. But also using our predictive assessment to kind of stack rank candidates with all else being equal of who should move forward in the recruiting process, especially in those high volume positions where you really get the biggest bang for your buck from engagement. All the Gallup research that's out there and anything else that shows that work groups that are in the top quartile of engagement produce usually 20% more of or around that of X, whatever you're measuring. Is it revenue? Is it profit? Is it patient care metrics? Whatever. It's usually about 20% more of that than the bottom quartile of engagement. Organizations through this acquisition transition need to pay attention to: do we have the right leaders? Are we communicating? Are we intentionally creating the culture we want? But also then, are we hiring new employees with the highest propensity to engage?
Absolutely. And in terms of, I want to go back to the point of, you said where it could be most effective, maybe high turnover industries, places where engagement is extremely important for, let's say, manufacturing, transportation and logistics, hospitality, customer service. I'd love to get your opinion on where you've seen it impact the most or provide the most value in terms of understanding the engagement level at a pre-hire phase.
Yeah, historically, where I've seen it the most is in the more of the hourly kind of exempt or non-exempt, roles that do have traditionally higher turnover. So retail, truck drivers, warehouse, hospitality, where if you're hiring people that have a higher propensity to engage, that internal 30 to 50%, they put up with stress better. They put up with, and by stress, I mean a lot of times it's the bad boss, or it's the all the tough customers, the customer interactions that you have, and so being more resilient, being more willing to provide discretionary effort, do more than what it takes to not get fired, right? Those folks, they don't turn over as much. They tend to be higher performers, not just because they're giving more discretionary effort, but if you think about if I have a call center, say where it's a notorious high turnover industry, if I can get a new employee to actually start the job, make it through training and start the job, and then stay 90 days. If they can stay 90 days, they tend to stay at least over a year. And so with that one person, how much am I saving on not having to train somebody? But also, what are the skills and the proficiency that they're building in the job from day 90 on that I don't get when I have 150% turnover and most of my staff only makes it 180 days or so on the job. It's that curve, that acceleration that you talked about. I'm also really excited to put the finishing touches on some research that we've recently completed that showed managers' propensity to engage. That stuff that we can assess with our predictive assessments of what is this person's predicted level of that 30 to 50% of internal propensity to engage. The actual engagement, the engagement survey, the questions that the people that work for that manager, when they respond, I would recommend this company to my friends and family. When they say yes, they would. The propensity to engage of the manager is very predictive of the actual engagement level for the folks that work for them. So thinking about hospitality industry, not just for servers and cooks and folks, the propensity to engage being important, but also the managers. Does GM have this way of presenting themselves from their propensity to engage, which then creates a better culture, which allows you to hold on to your employees, which becomes a really, really significant competitive advantage. When you think about an organization, if you have 100% turnover and you can lower that to 75, but all your competitors have 100% turnover, you're going to get so much more return on your payroll dollar investment. You're going to have happy employees. They're going to attract people like them, like attracts like. They're going to recommend their friends and family. And you end up with a competitive advantage because you have a leader in the organization who has a higher propensity to engage as well as employees.
Right. Absolutely. And several conversations we've had with our clients in terms of those industries have said that's the number one issue that they're running into right now. And the war on talent is just getting harder and harder. And understanding how do we increase retention rates and then how that translates to the bottom line is something that we can help with our predictive engagement assessment.
So I'm curious, Michael, how much when you're talking with clients or prospective clients, right, of using something like propensity to engage as but everybody who applies through this assessment early, what's the number one pushback that you hear from clients of why we can't do that?
Yeah, it's a great question, because the number one pushback we get is we need to hire as many people as we can. And just because they have a higher propensity to engage doesn't mean we're going to hire that person versus the next person that has a lower propensity, because they need to fill spots.
The war for talent, right? It's just not enough. If they can fog a mirror, I'm going to hire them. Right? I need somebody. Which I get it, right? I mean, it's you have to have employees. You have, otherwise you can't run your business. And those employers that you see that get it, what is the benefit that how are they using the tools? I'm curious how you see them use the tools in this competitive environment.
Absolutely. So it goes back to the fact that you can stack rank those individuals with the higher propensity to engage. And even if you have to hire the entire list of 100 employees that have applied, you bring in the higher engaged employee first. That allows you to establish that higher engaged culture before you have to bring in the lower propensity to engage individuals. And you use it at the hiring level or the manager level, to your point, to be able to effectively increase the engagement for those individual contributors through the managers and through the existing employees in the organization?
Yeah, I've seen the same thing. And as you stack, if you can stack rank, all things being equal, and just move the people for, so not using it as a cut score, not saying no to people because of their assessment score, but moving folks through who score higher first. You also, as a recruiter, as a hiring manager, start to recognize, yeah, this person, I'm concerned. They feel like they may be a lot like the folks that don't make it. And when I say are a lot like it, our assessments are predicting how somebody's going to behave on the job, and they do it in a way that is equitable. And so, as we've seen with our clients, those that use assessments earlier in the process to screen in the highest predicted fit also have the most equitable metrics and analytics when you look at the EEO definitions of race, gender, age, all of the EEO things, because what matters is how somebody's going to behave, and by using an objective assessment, you can cut through unconscious bias or systemic problems in hiring processes, and actually increase diversity and equity in the process.
Yeah, those are great points.
Thank you for listening. Please follow us on our YouTube channel for future videos. Thank you.